Hello and welcome to another episode of ohmTown on Twitch. I'm Mayor Watt, and today is February 11th, 2022. Hello. Today is the 11th. I'm 42 days into streaming every day. So I thought it was kind of interesting. Okay, enough of that. Let's get into the news. A lot is going on. Most of it is actually geopolitical, but I've got a selection of 20 articles that I've selected from the aggregator on ohmTown.com, and we'll go through it. And like I do on every episode, the aggregator grabs news from around the world, mostly in the United States, but with global implications at times. The community is pretty broad, so I don't want to assume that anything really is hyper-local, and I try to avoid it. But let me know, either in chat or in email or via the website. I'm now putting stuff on YouTube. I've got the podcast up and running on Apple. It's only the introduction. All the rest of the videos and the audio is going to go up over there the next week. And I'm kind of a one-man show, so yeah, I guess, I gotta hustle. So let's get into this. Every time you click on the front page logo, you're probably going to end up with new news, unless you do it in rapid succession, and then maybe you won't get as much. So just now, there were, I don't know how many, oh goodness, maybe 20 more articles that were presented just by me waiting a couple of minutes, if that. But the way that it works is the ohmTown aggregator reaches out and grabs news headlines and a little snippet, not the whole article. I'm kind of I'm very anti grabbing the entire content. Some places grab the entire content. But for ohmTown, I just want to tease you into going over to the source and then reading the material. And you never know which site has a means to have a community or chat. And so ohmTown is really where I want you to end up. After you read the article, you can come on back and you can post your comments in ohmTown. And from there, you can come to the daily ohmTown news show here on Twitch. It's basically ohmTown news. I haven't really settled on a firm name for what this really is, but for the most part, it's just a general daily news show coming out of ohmTown. Yeah. So the first article that I picked is Planetary Bodies Observed for the First Time in Habitable Zone of Dead Star. For most of my life, I've always been told that there's a habitable zone around a star where planets can persist and life might be able to exist on it, because you can have liquid water and perhaps, I don't know, aliens could have landed and seeded it with life. Wait, that's not supposed to be, I've said too much. Anyway. So we've apparently observed it for the first time in the habitable zone of a dead star. And I've never known this to be an option. So it says in here, nearly all stars, including the sun, will eventually become white dwarfs, but very little is known about their planetary systems. I think we're many millions of years out from our sun turning into a white dwarf after a supernova. And if it does supernova, well, I'll be drinking everything on my shelf before that happens. Because I don't want to watch the big flash and still be, staring into it. Some people have actually stared into an eclipse. That's why they tell you. It's kind of like why we have like don't place overhead like bags. Don't place bag overhead. Because people have done it. So anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, but let's keep on going. I want you to go over to phys.org. You can read more about it. It's from the University College of London. Sorry, University College London, not of London, but University College London. Go over there. They have this graphic artist representation of what the description is of this white dwarf star and rings and a planet. It's pretty neat. Let's see what else. Yeah, it's because a sun will keep on fusing more and more materials together, making it heavier and heavier and heavier, and then eventually, I can't remember what it was. I think if it gets to iron, that's it. The sun will eventually use up all of its hydrogen and go supernova or implode. I'm not sure if they all supernova, but there's so much information in my head that sometimes I forget some things. The next article is on Mobile, and it says senators say CIA has been collecting data in bulk in secret program. I'm going to click this link here. It's a couple of Democrats that have said it. I'm going to pause this. And what has been said. Pardon me 1 second. There we go. What has been said suddenly today. The author of this is Olafimihan Ocean. I'm really sorry. I'm trying to pronounce that phonetically. Olafimihan Ocean. Yeah, I'm not going to even edit this. I'm going to leave that in there so that you understand that I tried, and I'm really sorry if I'm reading it on the fly. I didn't plan any of this. So my honest reaction when I saw the name. So I want to give credit where credit is due. And I'm not going to go into great detail on this, but essentially there's always been a program of collecting information and it collects everything. These programs collect everything. In this case, it's talking about the CIA, and the CIA isn't supposed to do domestic surveillance. We can keep on going through this, but there has been a domestic surveillance program in place, scooping up everything from phone calls to tweets to every bit of traffic that everybody does on the internet. And it's stored in a giant data warehouse in Utah. And it's a massive data warehouse. And bots go scrolling through it and filtering out what isn't a threat and what is perceived as a threat and needs to be processed, analyzed by a human. It's been called out time and time again over the years. And people's resistance to it is dulled. And now we have, more than one apparatus in place to monitor the citizens of the United States. Don't think that this isn't happening and hasn't been happening. It's been happening since 9/11. And probably before it just wasn't overwhelmingly in place and so overt. But more than one person has called this out. Suddenly some senators are talking about it. This next article is over on Stock Marketeers, the Wall Street Journal. SpaceX's Starship should soon launch at fraction of current costs, Elon Musk says. So I'm going to click this link. Takes us over to Market Watch. Article is by Mika Maidenberg. It might be Micah Maidenberg. Cost of orbital missions should fall to less than $10 million in 2 to 3 years, Musk claims. I'm sure if you augment it with taxpayer dollars. That is, space company's enormous rocket should soon be able to reach orbits at a fraction of traditional launch costs, which is great. I'm glad that somebody did it. I think the tech has been around for a while. Slapping it all together in the right composite and getting extremely smart people on the task of making it fast, efficient, and capable. I mean, just look at SpaceX's command and control center compared to what NASA looked like over my entire lifetime of growing up watching NASA. It's so open and airy and not CRTs. CRTs always seem to be at the NASA control center. Maybe things have changed over the years. Sorry, I keep looking up at my stream, making sure everything is working right, because I'm actually doing a lot of things right now on the same computer. And if you're listening to this podcast 40 days after the start of my stream, I know that some of the things that I say are referencing a web page. You'll have to go to the web page to get all of the links and things like that. Within the podcast description will be all the links to ohmTown. And then from there, you can go and read the articles that I'm referencing. That way you can come back to the chat and come in and talk to me and school me on what I missaid or don't know, which is probably a lot. But I'm more about trying to draw attention to some of these articles, and I hope that you all get something interesting out of this, if not just piquing your curiosity. But I love the rockets. These Falcon 9s. It is just like the science fiction that I read and watched and grew up on. It's almost exactly like Gattaca. You know, a rocket just takes off regularly from a launch pad, and it's like clockwork. And I just love the idea of it. So keep on going. This next article is NBC Universal poised to yank new episodes of its shows from Hulu. This is in the Stock Marketeers group. Eventually, all of these groups that I talk about will be channels that are streamed to the ohmTown Twitch channel and unique podcasts and channels on YouTube as well under the ohmTown name. So keep an eye on that. And again, if you are interested in hosting or co-hosting, get in touch with me. I'm more than willing to talk with you about it. This polling shows from Hulu, though. Click the link. It's an article on MarketWatch written by Joe Flint and Lillian Rizzo. Shift of high-profile programming to Peacock could take effect this fall. I have mentioned this in my previous streams that what we joked about 20 years ago has suddenly become a reality, which is we've taken everything that we've done with over the air, removed the tracking component of it, because you had to be a member of a certain group to acknowledge that you saw ads, and that basically meted out what the reach was for an ad or a show or whatever. And where we've ended up is now we've balkanized it from channels to apps, and the apps have all of the tracking and all of the shows, and you pay a monthly fee. And where all of the producers were bought by ISPs, now a lot of them are fractioning off to an app, and I'm paying for high-speed internet, but not cable TV. So all of this kicking and all of this kicking and screaming to keep people and blend in TV and internet and everything all in one provider has now failed. Because all I need is high-speed internet. Don't mess with my high-speed internet. Give me faster speed internet. Give me symmetric internet, for crying out loud. This geo-locked garbage that some people have to deal with, where we get a whole lot of downstream. So I can download at gigabit, but I can't upload at gigabit. Even though, down the street, Google Fiber exists, but because they can't get passage right of way to provide me with fiber, I'm out of luck. Same thing goes with Fios. Can't get it. It's 200 feet away from me, but they won't run fiber line to me. Maybe I have to pay more. I don't know. But now the shows that are owned and produced, and at least owned, I should say, by one organization is going to stop getting licensed to others because it's in their self-interest to silo it and pull you as a customer into their fold. So now you have to pay $20 to do, well, I don't know. I can't remember what Peacock is, but you have to pay for Peacock. You have to pay for Hulu. You have to pay for Netflix. You have to pay for pretty much everything. And in some cases, you still get ads, which, I was going to reference another podcast, but I don't want to take their lines, but man, it is so apropos. Maybe I can say it off the record somewhere else. Go listen to the Greatest Generation Star Trek podcast. Yeah. I'll just leave that alone. Anyway, I really don't like the Hulu app interface. Not a big fan of most, actually. Let's keep hustling. I saw this, watch the Seiko prospect. I'm going to click the link. It'll take you over to monochrome-watches.com, a continuation of Seiko's blacked out series of dive watches with vintage inspiration. So these are pretty cool. I like the style. Kind of muted, not really ostentatious. Something that you could wear without any, flashiness. I dig it. And that's kind of my style. I don't want really flashy stuff. I've had the stainless steel version of Apple Watches, and it stands out pretty bright and shiny, which is great if you want that. Anyway, go and check it out, monochrome-watches.com. Do a search for the cool new Seiko Prospects Black Series, and they give the model numbers. There's 3 of them. Let's see, how much is it at least? Oh, wait. Sorry for the scrolling back and forth. The article was written by Robin Nui, I think it is, or Noe? You'll have to correct me. I'm really sorry. It's not that I'm bad with names. I just haven't heard it once. And once I hear it, then I'll pronounce it correctly every time. Sometimes it's easy, you can just say Joe Smith, but some names are a little more creative. So how much was it? Euro, $1,350. Yeah, these watches are $1,350. Okay, this next article is in the Mobile group. Education Department dismisses complaint over LGBTQ dating ban at BYU following a probe. I'm going to click the link. Anybody want to take a guess on why they dismissed it? Are you in my chat and got a keyboard in front of you, and you want to take a stab at why they were allowed to ban LGBTQ dating on the campus? It's because they've got a religious exemption. This is Olafemian Ocean again. Again, I might be pronouncing it incorrectly, so I'm just reading it phonetically. So correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, Brigham Young University banned, a probe into the treatment of LGBTQ students at the school. Well, hate to break it to you, there's an exemption to Title IX. And apparently that's religion. Who knew? Okay. So in a statement, BYU acknowledged the outcome of the Department of Education's probe. BYU had anticipated that OCR would dismiss the complaint because OCR has repeatedly recognized BYU's religious exemption for Title IX requirements that are not consistent with the religious tenets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yep. So take note. If you're going to go to a university and you fall in the LGBTQ camp, either in support of or you are in the LGBTQ camp, don't go to Brigham Young. Take your money elsewhere. Your way of life does not fall into the tenets that Brigham Young follows. So you either can go there and fight it and be told, well, not even the government's going to protect you. You're not part of a protected class. The religion is, but you are not. Next article. The Word in Tech. Artists are playing takedown whack-a-mole to fight counterfeit merch. So this is in the Word in Tech, but it also should be under Right Protect. Going to click the link. It'll take you over to The Verge. It's an article written by Kim Lyons. Again, there's a snippet on ohmTown. The full article is on The Verge. I want you to go there before getting into big discussions about the article itself. If you know something about copyright, trademark, patents, counterfeiting merch, and all of that, the business processes that make economic sense, happy to discuss it. But if you want to talk about the article itself in a deeper way, go read the article and then come on back, post it on the chat, post it in ohmTown itself for that article. When I'm done, I'll be adding links to all of the shows that I have done this prep with. Not all of the first month. I was a real knucklehead and I left out all of the links to ohmTown. And by way of ohmTown, you go to the article source as well. Well, anyway, now I'm doing it, and I hope that it helps the discussion. But this is, it's really odd that people think that it's okay to take somebody else's work wholesale and sell it. I used to license a piece of software from somebody, and I don't really want to sell anything or I don't know. I don't want to turn this into a sales pitch, but I used somebody else's software and I licensed it every year. And then I just decided to stop doing the whole project because it was just too cumbersome. But in discussions with this programmer, I was told that people are using his software without paying for it because it's publicly available and you can use it. It's a web solution. It's software as a service. And they were taking his work, that software, and utilizing it to generate content. And then the content was being bundled together and sold on Amazon. And so he charges like $250 a year for it. And but people were using the free version of it hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times. He didn't tell me the full number, but he said he's finding books worth of his work, his solution unlicensed on Amazon. So for whatever reason, it makes economic sense to these people, largely because they're told, take it down, and then that's it. There's no credit being given. Even if a little bit of credit was given, then I could see, oh, okay, all right, it's not happening that much. If I was a producer of a product and somebody cloned it wholesale and they were making all of the money and taking it all away from me, I would be like just flabbergasted. And then I would have to go and chase it down. And that's exactly what this article is about. He estimates dozens of his work on Facebook alone. And when it's a picture, it's really hard to justify in any way, shape, or form. It would be like taking this artwork from The Verge and then printing it out or making a shirt out of it and posting it somewhere. But there's a limit to what copyright allows you to do. And one of them is the unmitigated duplication of it, right? If you do something transformative, then yeah, it's fine, apparently. But for whatever reason, some people think it's on the internet, I can do whatever I want. And that's where the show Right Protect is supposed to talk about this kind of stuff regularly, once a week, every week. So there's 50 shows at ohmTown, da-da-da. So if you're interested, come and talk to me. Alienwares thin 14-inch X14 gaming laptop is now available. Who knows if it really is? I tried to buy a microphone and a different mixer, and by the time I got to the website, it was in my cart. I refreshed it to make the actual purchase. So like I put in my credentials to purchase it, and it was out of stock. So let's see what happens here. If I click this link, it'll talk about it. The company's thinnest gaming laptop starts at $1,700, $1,650. I'll be a little more precise. I round up to the nearest 100 because you're going to pay for shipping or tax and shipping. So it's a 14-inch gaming laptop. Has an RTX 3060 in it. If they can make 3060s that small and it's still capable like a desktop, produce those, because I want my desktop to be as big as it is, but with smaller components so that I've got more room to put more components. Anyway. So I really dig this. I love laptops. I love tablets. I even have a channel that I want to start called Tablet Fan. But I put it on pause, but it's one of the 50 so that we focus on tablets, not necessarily laptops. A laptop can be a tablet. It's one of those 2-in-1s. You flip it around or you detach the keyboard. So go check it out. It's over on The Verge. Alienwares thin 14-inch X14 gaming laptop is now available. It's an article written by Cameron Faulkner. This next article is in the Word in Tech. Big Tech's 2021 earnings were off the chart. Yes, they were. Going to click the link. This is an article on The Verge written by Shane Gartenberg. And it says 2021 had big challenges, but bigger revenues. A lot of companies, particularly Apple, Amazon, Google, Amazon in particular is spending a ton of money and expanding into other areas. And they, I think I remember they're raising wages at Amazon, and they're raising rates. So, Prime is going to $139. Might as well round up $140. That's quite the spike. I remember when it was $99, and that's palatable, but $150 is getting to that point where you're just kind of flinching away from it. Let me see something real quick. Yeah, right now it's 120, but I think that it's supposed to be going up to $139. Yeah, it is. So expect even more big things coming out of Amazon. Tesla just did a massive recall. That's not going to be cheap. And there's more and more competition for your on-demand streaming desires. So Netflix is going to keep on getting challenged. So expect their revenues to either go up if they hit the right stride, or go down as more people pull their content out of Netflix and into their own app store. Because really, all it comes down to is marketing, and they can market all day long, really cheap, comparatively, online. They just blast out little mini ads everywhere. Maybe get a $100 million ad on the NFL halftime show. I don't know. Anyway, since the pandemic, people have been making some serious change. Apple notched over 350 billion in revenue last year, and close to 100 billion over its 2020 revenue. Yeah, but it still has to get chips, so we'll see what happens with its overseas production. I hope that it brings stuff more domestically. Okay, this next article is over on the mobile channel. The challenge of providing good service while social distancing. Yes, we are still social distancing in some places. Click the link. University of South Australia. The challenge of providing good service while social distancing. I don't know how many of you are still going out. I tend not to go out anymore because of the pandemic. It seems weird to have to wear a mask everywhere, including entering the restaurant. But when you're eating, you take it off, and suddenly I know that the virus really does respect your desire to eat, and so it doesn't bother you while you're eating. Okay, I hope that everybody doesn't. I hope you don't require me to put a SARC mark on there. By the way, there really is a thing called a SARC mark. If you look it up, you'll find it. But anyway, sarcasm there, folks. Viruses don't care about your desire to not catch it while you're eating. So I still remain at home most of the time. I don't go out. I pick up my food and bring it back. And at any rate, the hospitality sector has been just crushed. It's going to start picking back up as time goes on and people become more comfortable with the fact that they're vaccinated and having to cope with unvaccinated people. It's almost like a little landmine, though. You never know. Somebody might show up with a medical exemption or something else saying that they don't need it. Now, they could be carriers for the virus. At any rate, this article goes into a discussion about the challenge of providing good service while social distancing. And really, it just means being a more compassionate person and you remaining protective of other people. So you'll see people wearing a mask while they are taking your order, surrounded by people not wearing a mask, which, again, it's all really counterintuitive. It's just counterproductive. I would suggest most restaurants pivot the other way and they make their takeout service just impeccable. Make it even beautiful in its packaging, get the right containers, invest in that long-term future, promote a culture of picking up and dining somewhere else. Yes, I understand that it's going to take a bite out of the ambiance of your fine establishment, but sodas having to shut down periodically as people do um, uh, history tracing and finding out that they caught it at your restaurant. Talk about a reputation hit. I know of 2 restaurants that shut down in my immediate area simply because of repeated hits of COVID-19. You have to shut down, you have to clean everything, it gets expensive, people get burnt out hearing that your restaurant is passing COVID around. This next article is in the Warcrafters channel. Nintendo hacker Gary Bowser sentenced to 3 years in prison. 3 years for what amounts to copyright infringement. Originally, Bowser was looking at upwards of 10 years for his crime, 5 years for each count he pled guilty to. Oh, gosh. Is that really? There has to be something else, right? Bowser was part of the team that helped develop and sell mod chips and jailbreaking software for a plethora of Nintendo consoles. Yeah, it was a little bit bigger. But it amounts to piracy, and there's a lot of discussion about what really is piracy. But when you're going to the extent, I stopped paying attention to this a while back, but if you go to this extent, then I can see where the amount of damage that might be done can lead you to wanting to do some extraordinary actions against somebody. My only problem is that it's jail. In jail, depending on where you end up in jail, apparently it's worse in different countries, but in the United States, it's life altering. And most people don't come out of jail a better person because they're struggling. They have to fight every day to not get messed with and atone for whatever crime it was that they did. And obviously there's a gamut of crime here, but selling mod chips and jailbreaking software, you do it right and you're a hero because you're breaking into the iPhone and it's part of the process. You're allowed to do it because you're a business, but if you do this, you're circumventing the protections that are in place. Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people want that kind of stuff because they can't afford what's being offered. And instead of saying, okay, well, I can't afford it, I'll go somewhere else, they hack. So he's been handed a 40-month sentence and a $14.5 million fine for his crimes. Wow. He was arrested in October 2020, extradited to the U.S. from the DR to face 11 felony counts, including money laundering and wire fraud. Well, there's a whole lot there. And you can go over to PC Gamer, and there's additional links that'll link you over to other places. This article was written by Molly Taylor. It's a bummer that people think that it's an opportunity to circumvent and produce circumvent protections and produce hardware to do so. That isn't their only option for doing something, but I mean, imagine if that person put that much effort into a business enterprise that was legal and wasn't predicated on breaking into somebody else's material. It's almost super villain-esque, Stock Marketeers is the next article. Bond report, 10-year treasury yield holds near 2% after inflation data sparks renewed bond sell-off. So you sell off the bonds and it sucks the money back out of that. Click the link, take you over, and as usual, the Market Watch headlines always change. Now, and it reads, treasury yields fall as Ukraine fears stoke flight to safety, which had nothing to do with the original article's title, which is 10-year treasury yield holds near 2% after inflation data sparks sell-off. Why they do this, I'll never know. Just create another article, for crying out loud. This one was written by Vivian Liu Chen and William Watts. These two seem to write the articles together. But they add this little bit of information, or they change it because it's got traction. But for the life of me, I don't know why they changed the actual headline. It's so weird. But yeah, I respect the amount of data that they provide in this thing. So what analysts are saying, and I didn't read it at the beginning when this was first published. This was first published February 11th, 2022 at 7:49 a.m. At the end of the day, which is pretty typical for financial websites, there are updates and things throughout the day, but to change the headline is so bizarre to me. So they changed something in there. They updated this same article somewhere during the day by changing the title, but not the URL, adding some more material to the article. And then the last update was at 4:32 p.m. I'm sure people are used to it, but when you actually see the changes, it's kind of like me posting a viral video somewhere and then changing the viral video to Never Gonna Give You Up and everybody going to it again. It's kind of trollish, you know? Anyway, the next article is deep dive. Oil is the hottest sector, and Wall Street analysts see upside of up to 48% for favored stocks. And this is in the Stock Marketeers channel. This article is on MarketWatch. The original article name, URL, and the current headline are the same. So thankfully it hasn't changed. Analysts favor Canadian oil companies, but also some large U.S. players such as ConocoPhillips, Schlumberger, and Valero. Valero, I thought Valero was South American. Huh. Okay. Anyway, so oil prices are bouncing around. That's an odd one. Crude oil. Why is it down there at $6.50? That can't be right. Huh, I'll have to look into that if I can remember to. So, energy is the best performing stock market sector this year. Yeah, people are freaking out about inflation, and when everything is going up, or if you invest in energy companies, guess what? There's a whole lot of elasticity in those prices. People are going to keep on consuming. They got to drive to work. If they have to drive to work, they got to use electricity. They got to use energy somewhere. There is usually oil at play. So I'm not surprised that energy stocks are best performing recently. So let's see. I know that I scroll back and forth. It's just the nature of the beast. If you're interested in ETFs, go over to MarketWatch and do a search, or click the link at ohmTown, and you'll get taken straight to this. This article is written by Philip Van Dorn. Okay, this next article is in the Warcrafters channel. Let me just see where I am. Project Zomboid Traits Guide. If you've never played Project Zomboid, you should. Go and get it. It's $20. Sometimes it's on sale. I think I paid the most for it, which is $20. It goes on sale a bit every once in a while. This is an article by Philip Palmer over on PC Gamer, and goes into detail about the skills, the traits, I mean. And so when you build a character in Project Zomboid, you have positive and negative traits, basically skills or character, uh, uh, in a role-playing game kind of a way. It builds out your character, and some of them are really amazing and some of them are really horrible. And when you put them all together, you might be able to create kind of like a min-max, a super character of sorts with a minimal number of negatives compared to a lot of positives. Um, and and maybe you can accept some negatives at the cost of, excess negatives give you a whole bunch of positives that you can use. But if you pick the wrong things, oh my goodness. Um, so this article goes into great detail about it. So lucky, dexterous, inconspicuous, or graceful, short-sighted. Some of them need explaining, so it's great that there is a guide for it. And I'm sure there's more than one guide. Let me close that so that the video doesn't play. But go and check it out while you're waiting for Lost Ark servers to come online. Who knows if they are at this point. Again, though, this is February 11th, 2022. So if you stumble across the video a year from now, or you listen to the podcast and it's a week later, I'm sure the Lost Ark servers are online. I'm just taking a stab at it because I was waiting for the Lost Ark servers to come online all day. This next article is introducing, it's in the Band to Bezel channel on ohmTown. It was sourced from Odinky. I swear I hope I'm saying that name right. Introducing Tag Hour releases its most wearable smartwatch yet. So I'm going to click the link. Now on the podcast, I say that I'm clicking the link just to follow up with that. I don't reread these little snippets, these news bites that I'm going through. I give my honest reaction to the information and what I see on the screen. Like this looks like a render. I don't really like renders as representative of what it really is because the lighting is never realistic, never truly realistic. It tends to look plasticky and fake. If this is the legit picture of it and the real life item, this is impeccable lighting, impeccable color, zero flaws. It's spectacular, but for some reason, I think that it's not a photo. Correct me if I'm wrong. Logan Baker, who's the author of this article, introducing Tag Hour releases. Oh, sorry, it's introducing is the article, the segment. Releases its most wearable smartwatch yet. Luxury smartwatch receives a major update. So I'm going to click through. Yeah, maybe it's, this one is like a legit picture, but it's got a green screen background so that they can put whatever photo behind it. I don't know. But anyway, it's a beautiful watch. I dig it. The watch face itself is just amazing. I really like them. It's largely grayscale. I'm reading this, or I'm saying this because of the podcast element of the show. But it has a green dial, almost iridescent green dial. Or it's a ring dial, though. It's not a solid face dial. And I really dig it. So I don't read the whole article. Like I said, I look at the pictures. I grab some of the information from it. Like it has a black ceramic bezel insert, stainless steel, titanium. I mean, they're beautiful watches. I really like the skeletonized versions of it. I don't think all of them have it. But let's see if they have the price. I'm going to keep scrolling. I'm really sorry if you're watching the video and it's giving you a headache. I don't see any pricing. There we go. So the 42 millimeter starts at $1,800. The 45 millimeter starts at $2,000. Yeah, I'm not going to be buying a $2,000 watch. I'm going to scroll up really fast. By the way, it looks like it has an almost identical um, back as the Apple. So here, I'll show you. I'm wearing my watch, and I'll hold it up to the camera. Let me clean it up a little bit. So they all look like that. They have this kind of solid glass plate with a central sensor in it. And so some sensors emit light, and they look at you really close up. And they can measure blood flow and stuff and detect pulse and really neat array of sensors. But anyway, smartwatches are awesome, particularly if it has a classical styling as a faceplate. Because I would love if my watch was sending all of its data to my phone and not stored on my watch. At least then my watch battery life would run forever. I wouldn't have to charge it each day, particularly if it has a self-winding mechanism in it. Maybe that's something that Apple might be able to augment their watches with, that self-winding mechanism. So as you are walking, it's actually turning a little generator and repowering the watch. You could increase the resistance and the ratio, the gearing, to make it generate more than the old school, because the old school actually turned a spring, a coil. But smartwatches don't use a coil for charging. I mean, they use a different coil. It's not a mechanical spring. It's a charging coil. Wow, I just spiraled. Anyway, the next article is in the Bee Baby channel. Nature-inspired and narrative laser-cut wood jewelry and art by Tomsky Store. Or Tom's Kentucky Store. I'm not sure. No, it must be Tomsky Store. Is a London-based British artist who has a flair for narrative jewelry and art designs. I'm going to click the link, take us over to Beating Gem. The Beating Gem is Pearl Blay. Just so you know, she's the author of that article. Martin Tomsky. There we go. And does some jewelry and laser cuts. So what I'm looking at here is this black and white laser cut bird that's holding a piece of jewelry in its beak. Looks pretty neat. And a lot of laser cut jewelry looks kind of simplistic, right? So it's very creative. You have to give it dimensionality. You do different types of cuts on different types of wood or other materials, and then you glue them all together. Sometimes you can make interlocking pieces that are friction fit and you don't have to do any gluing. But some of these are really neat. Look at that. Looks like a wolf that caught a bunny. There's an eyeball. Orca chasing fish. Pretty neat. Nice little owl. A phoenix. It's pretty cool. Some people use their laser. Like I have a laser. And I've done these stack art pieces, and you can do some amazing dimensionality. And then if you do it right, you can actually stabilize the wood and mix it with resin and give it even greater dimensionality and durability. Because wood by its very nature is still, even though it's been laser cut and cut from its tree, it actually swells and contracts depending on the temperature and humidity. And even if you try and seal it, it still does this because inside it hasn't been stabilized. But you can get this stuff called cactus juice and a pressure pot and a vacuum tank, and you can throw your material in and into this liquid and put it under pressure. And when you release the pressure, it will pull all of this cactus juice into it. And then you take it out and you put it in an oven, and it will solidify inside the wood. and it's referred to as stabilized, and you can actually turn it on a lathe and you can CNC it and it will stay in its shape and it won't bend and twist and all of that kind of stuff. You won't have to do creative woodworking to keep it in order, because every piece of wood, even if you seal it, even if you plane it smooth and sand it and do all kinds of stuff with it, it will still flex and bend and twist over time. But a lot of this is really neat. So I'm going to stop here and tell you to just go over to thebeatinggem.com and take a look. Nature inspired and narrative, laser cut wood jewelry and art by Tomsky Store. Yeah, we'll move on. Go check it out. And if you want something laser cut, you can contact me. My laser doesn't get a lot of action. Grand Marnier debuts 2,000 pound liqueur. This is in the Distillerist channel. Again, sorry podcast, I'm going to say it. Click the link. Kate Malkuski, I guess, is the last name. Again, I'm really sorry if I'm horribly ruining your last name. Over on the spiritsbusiness.com website. Oh man, that is a beautiful bottle. I love the design of that. I wonder if it's sitting in a cradle and not, if it really does look kind of like a teardrop-y kind of thing. I wonder if it has that flat base or if it's rounded all the way to the bottom. I think it is rounded, kind of teardrop shape. Master blender Patrick Ragonod, I guess, oversaw the creation of the new collection. Wow, that's another nice bottle. My goodness, they have some really nice bottles, but it's $2,713 US. Revelation is limited to 23 bottles, priced at 650 pounds or $882. Man. Okay, so let's see. It's a cognac, double distilled liquid, features notes of dried fruit, apricot, and walnut against a backdrop of warm vanilla. Well, let me see. I'm in love with a couple of bottles. I would love to try this. I don't know if I can justify $882 for a bottle of anything. I have not spent that much money on a bottle. Wow. Anyway, go check it out, The Spirits Business. You can follow the link that'll be in the description. Eventually, I'm going to get it all done. I can't do everything, it seems. Modern Love Podcast, catfished and trapped in a romance scam. This is in the Mobile channel. They fell for his selfies, tattoos, and fluffy dog, but it wasn't really him on the other side. Click the link, takes you to the New York Times. And this is a podcast hosted by Daniel Jones, Maya Lee, produced by Julia Botero and Tina Antolini, edited by Wendy Dorr and Daniel Guillemette. And then there's music, but you're not seeing any of that or hearing that music. It's somebody else's music. Anyway, it's the Modern Love Podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. The quote that is listed here is, "My photos were circulating all over, creating new personas, a Chicago stockbroker, an Oregon park ranger, a dog walker named Larry. I couldn't stop it. But it was some other guy. Last spring, Michael McAllister's inbox started filling up with messages from heartbroken women. I thought you were the man," one wrote. "Embarrassing, but I kind of became obsessed with you," said another. Wow. Go and check it out. Go find this article. It's over on the New York Times. Obviously, again, like I said just a moment ago, the link to the ohmTown site will be your link to the New York Times. You can always find this podcast, Modern Love, over on Apple. I have no relation to the New York Times or to Modern Love. It was just something that I was interested in based on the little snippet of text that I have from my aggregator and that title. People are looking for other people, and when they find a connection, some really sociopathic people can take advantage of others. It's such a weird society that we live in, where somebody finds joy in hurting other people. But I always jokingly say I blame lead paint. Might be true. So this is in the Hatch Ideas channel. This is the next article. This is a national movement union drives surge at U.S. Starbucks stores. More than 70 stores in at least 20 states have now filed for union elections since the December wins in Buffalo, New York. I'm going to click the link, take you over to The Guardian. And they've got pictures of Starbucks CEO makes $20 million per year. And that's what I don't understand. The statement that I hear. So I've been in the startup world. I've been in various industries. I do strategic management consulting periodically. I've backed away from that for my other career. And I'm backing away from everything so that I can stream. But in a nutshell, the argument is that you have to pay big money to get great leadership. And I'm telling everyone now, that amounts to, it's not what you know, it's who you know, because it's making contacts. The CEO is largely doing some steering, yes, but it's making deals with other people who do the investments, and they reach out and they make connections with other industries to expand operations. And they don't necessarily touch everything, because the CEO, like me doing this and all the other things that I do, I can't do everything 100%. Humans don't multitask. So you are what's called fast switching. And I tell people at least once a quarter, like hundreds of people, I'm telling, humans don't multitask. So you can't do two things at once, which means you have a finite amount of time and only one set of eyes and one brain focusing on material. And when you have to diverge over to something else, something has to suffer. Something has to give. Well, the CEO relies on smart people that, I don't like calling people subordinates, but that's what they are. People underneath the C-suite are entrusted with the direction that the C-suite is pointing people towards. Okay. And as long as everybody's on the same page, supposedly it'll lead to success or failure, whichever way the CEO. It's supposed to be top-down driven. Some people, it's bottom-up driven, and the administration copes with the issues. Well, when leadership is making $20 million a year, and there are very capable people underneath in the workplace, but they're not making a livable wage, this is what you end up with. When a manager in a store tells an employee, you're a dime a dozen, I can get somebody else to sit there and pull the lever on my espresso machine, you don't know the damage that you're doing both to the business and to the person, because they're doing a damn good job, yet you're marginalizing them and not paying people a living wage, even for being quote unquote just a barista. It just does harm to society in general. You know, a person is working 8 hours a day and then they're going to another job just to live. It's no wonder that people would rather quit and live off the dole, or find something else to do entirely, because these quote unquote entry level jobs, which could be a career if you paid properly. You know, I mean, I think it's insulting. People should be making more money. They're providing you enough revenue to pay the CEO $20 million a year. Chop some of that off and pay a living wage to your employees. You know, not all of them are 15-and-a-half-year-olds who have a work permit. Anyway, this article is written by Michael Sonato. And let's see, it also comes amid allegations that 7 Starbucks workers in Memphis were fired in retaliation for union organizing. Yeah, and that's a risk too. It's just weird. But they'll counter, you know, with, well, we give college refunds, you know, reimbursement, tuition reimbursement. We give a chance to be in the administration, leadership, management. You know, it's almost too little too late. Unions exist because people feel that they have no other option. And then you end up with riots when unions fail and people, or not when unions fail, but when unions are marginalized or there is harm done to people who are unionizing. That's when people really lash out because they want to do what they love to do. And not everybody can go out and get another barista job. Anyway, like I said, you know, I end up associative thinking, diving off the rail there. So I hope you get something out of it. I hope that you appreciate and find value in the news that I'm providing, at least, and maybe my social commentary. Gravity Rush creator wants to see the series on PC. So this is in the Warcrafters channel. I haven't seen this game, and I was curious about it because for a game to move from one platform to another, normally it's kind of it's getting traction, right? Or the developer is really motivated on their own. But this apparently is, it says, one of Sony Japan Studios' best, Gravity Rush. But I'm not a console player. A now defunct Japan studio. Let's see. Gravity Rush is one of those games that encapsulates why Sony's now defunct Japan studio is sorely missed. There's nothing else quite like it. A 3D parkour / action game with full 360 movement and gravity manipulation. Sounds fun. Sorry, there's a little ad running or something down at the bottom of this page for Ollie Ollie World. And that's so fun to watch. It would drive me nuts because it's just restart because you're always smashing into something. But it is fun to watch. It would drive me nuts. Anyway, Gravity Rush looks fun. It might be pretty neat on a PC. But, you know, there are games that do this kind of thing. The one that is really kind of crushing it right now is Dying Light 2. That is a parkour / action game with full 360 movement and gravity manipulation. Lackluster ending to it, though. Oof. But I don't want to ruin it for people, so go check it out. Okay. And this article, this Gravity Rush creator wants to see the series on PC. That was written by Rich Stanton on PC Gamer. And I don't know if I should edit out my mistakes or just own up to it. The next article is aggregated into the Mobile channel. New York could fire as many as 3,000 unvaccinated city workers today. COVID live updates in reversal. FDA delays decision on shots for children under 5. And this is an article that was originally titled COVID-19 test cases vaccine, except that it was, the URL was actually originally named New York could fire as many as 3,000 unvaccinated city workers. Let's let's see. I'm going to scroll and see if they actually, yeah, they redirected. They redirected that URL to this about shots for underage. Huh. Okay. Well, the FDA delays action on COVID shots for young children. Yeah, they probably need some more longer term monitoring. Although we give these shots in different places to different people, and I'm sure that there is just a ton of data that's out there, but they need to monitor it more. The highly transmissible Omicron variant is receding in much of the nation, but federal officials have said that nearly 400 children under 5 have died due to COVID-19. And if there's one thing that gets people highly triggered and active, it's something harming children. Let's see. Regulators and vaccine manufacturers have been wrestling with how quickly to move to vaccinate roughly 18 million children under age 5. The only Americans still ineligible for shots. I don't know. I would really hesitate. I'm a proponent for vaccines, but I don't know how I feel about children being given every vaccine. But we give a lot of children a lot of vaccines, and it saves lives. Hands down, it saves lives. And there will always be an anomaly. That edge case where somebody is harmed by the vaccine, and I wouldn't want to be that person having to either make the decision or fall victim to that reaction. But that's why they're given shots and monitored for a while. Still, we don't know the long term. You know the current term, which is the last 2 years. And no, it doesn't modify DNA. Ugh. I really don't want to hear that in a message. The Marble Show has Kamila Valieva, Russian figure skater, tested positive for banned drug. Propelled Russia to win in the team figure skating competition this week, but it was not yet clear if the gold medal would be awarded. So she tested for a banned substance. That's how they call it, banned substance. Was found to have trimetazidine, a banned heart medication, in her system. And that's kind of a bummer. I mean, there are people, I've had conversations, and I would love this. I know it's going to sound really atrocious, I suppose, but I'm going to say it anyway. I would love to see the opposite of what the Olympics are, and just allow people to push the limit of the human animal using whatever means necessary to push that limit. And as long as people are healthy, right? So don't do all of these drugs and you end up dead at the end of the Olympics. Obviously, it's not going to be the Olympics, because they might come after me simply because I mentioned Olympics and allowing people to, do all of the performance enhancing drugs. It's the antithesis of what the Olympics are. You're supposed to work hard, naturally, and win the Olympics. But I've always thought it's rather cyberpunky kind of dystopian future, where you have these games, these kind of Olympic games, but using performance enhancing drugs. That's really the only way really to push the human condition short of the natural dedication. And really, you can have two people doing the exact same thing, and it comes down to genetics and maybe what they eat. I mean, but I've never seen an absolutely parallel construction of two people eating the exact same thing at the exact same time, doing the same exercises with the same intensity at the exact same time, living basically a twin life, to see if it's genetics that make a difference, or if both of them basically end up being Adonis perfect human beings, whatever that is. But anyway, if you are an Olympic athlete and you get caught with a banned drug, you're done. Maybe they ate a poppy seed bagel. That sometimes actually pops a test. Anyway, this next article is in the Marble Channel. Prehistoric drum is top ancient find at the British Museum. A carved stone drum unearthed in England is one of the most significant pieces of prehistoric art ever found in the country. So I'm going to click this link, and I just want to remind everybody that there is a Time Team resurgence. You can go to Patreon and sign up for it and watch all of their shows on YouTube. And England, the UK basically has Roman everything. I don't think that you can dig a hole anywhere without hitting a Roman road or a wall or digging up something that was dropped by somebody or finding a skeleton, or everything Roman is sitting over there. And I would just love to spend my summers just digging over there and finding stuff. I think it's really fascinating. That was actually my first love, was archaeology, until I was supposed to go on a dig and I had to dig up a body, and I was like, yeah. I mean, it's just bones, but I don't know. I lost my passion for it because I didn't want to see skeletons. I wanted to be like Indiana Jones and find all the loot. But with the loot, there's usually bodies somewhere in short order. Anyway, a carved stone drum unearthed in England. 5,000-year-old drum carved from chalk is set to go on display for the first time in a major exhibition about the Neolithic site of Stonehenge and its historical context. Wow. Okay. Go over to phys.org and read this article for yourself. I'm just going to scroll really fast. It opens February 17th, The World of Stonehenge. I hope there's a digital version of this because I am not going to be able to make it there. In the last 100, this is a truly remarkable discovery and is the most important piece of prehistoric art to be found in Britain in the last 100 years. In the last 100 years, I wonder what it was that they found previously. Stonehenge itself, I suppose. Wow. Oh, it's 240 miles from Stonehenge. Wow. Anyway, 5,000 years old, folks. Almost as old as me. At least that's how I feel today. Okay, so that's the news for today from ohmTown and all of the sites that it aggregates from. I'm going to click the link so that you can see again. In the last hour, all I'm doing is clicking this link and it'll refresh the page and it'll show you how many more articles are sourced. And I could just scroll and scroll and go to the next page and scroll and scroll. Let's just end the show here. I want to thank you for coming, and I hope to see you tomorrow. If you are in my chat and you haven't followed me, please follow. I'm trying to get more engagement. I tend to riff off of the people that are talking around me, asking questions, making comments, snarky or otherwise. Consider me like a bartender. You can make your comments and you can ask questions, and maybe I can give advice. But I'm not an attorney. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not your attorney. I'm not your financial advisor. And I'm not an attorney. And I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a strategic management consultant, but and amongst other things. But at any rate, I think that's the end of this show. And I want to thank you for coming. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern. Bye-bye.